Okay, I'm going to record, and I'm going to share my screen briefly and introduce Claire. Okay, so Claire Bolger. Claire Bolger came to me from, I believe, Ames, the association in Maryland, and she's making the buzz around all the associations in the country. So we're really fortunate to get her. So Claire is a facilitator, podcaster, and comedian who's determined to use her expertise in facilitation methodology to rid the world of the phrase, "that meeting could have been an email." She developed facilitator cards and is the co-author of the upcoming Facilitators Field Guide. And she's also founder of the company, The Meeting Medic. So we're really happy to have her with us. This is the first of four, and we'll see you again next Thursday. But Claire, I'm turning this over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deb, and thank you to PAIS for having me and putting this on for everyone here today. I'm going to take over the screen a little bit as we just walk through kind of the expectations of the session that we all have today. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. As Deb said, I'm Claire. I'm the founder of the Meeting Medic, and I'm one half of the Facilitator Cards team. We make kind of a planning methodology, so that's kind of where a lot of my facilitation knowledge and expertise comes from. All of this is just to say that I'm very passionate about facilitation and particularly meeting facilitation. Very few of us are ever taught how to run a meeting, and I would say even fewer of us are ever given the facilitation kind of skills, tools, and knowledge that we need to make sure that those meetings are great. So this series is going to kind of focus on all of the different elements that go into planning meetings and what we can do as facilitators to make those meetings the best meetings they can possibly be. So today we're only together for a half an hour, and we will be determining the unique responsibilities of a facilitator. We're going to clarify the role of the facilitator versus the role of the group. And we're going to define expectations in order to help our teams leave our meetings feeling really satisfied. I do want to make note, if you want to take notes during the meeting, that's wonderful. All of these slides, this recording, and any resources that you ask for in the chat, I will make available to you on a collective resource page. So however you want to pay attention this morning, feel free to sit back and enjoy your coffee if you'd like to. We'll do a little bit of participation throughout. Today, we are going to have a breakout room discussion. So there will be a very brief breakout room. We're going to do some writing, brainstorm some ideas together, and collectively, we're going to learn how to steer any ship through stormy meeting waters. Since we didn't get a chance to kind of like wave to everybody as we all came in, my favorite thing in an in-person meeting, what I would love to do is just invite everyone to unmute themselves very briefly. It's okay if you have a bit of a noisy background. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then we're all just going to wave and say hello to each other this morning. So just find that audio button. And if you're not in a place to do that, feel free to use an emoji or throw your good morning in the chat. But okay, we've got enough people. So perfect. 3, 2, 1. Hello.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Morning. Wonderful. I always love to get everyone's voices in the Zoom in one way or another. I have a quick question before we get started, just so I can make sure that these sessions are as applicable as possible to everyone. If you could open up the chat and just let me know, do you mostly lead meetings in person, virtually, and is anybody doing hybrid? Which always makes my face make that emoji. In person, okay, virtually. Both. Wonderful. Great. So everything that we do will absolutely be translatable to both in person and virtual. And I'll just make sure to, if there's anything that doesn't seem immediately obviously translatable, I'll be sure to mention kind of how we can do that with other people. Okay, my next question for everyone is on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel facilitating meetings? And how I'd like you to tell me is just hold up your fingers towards your camera. So 1 being I do not feel very confident, and 5 being I feel extremely confident. How confident do you feel facilitating meetings? Go ahead and hold your hands up. All right. We've got almost every number. We don't have any 1s, but we've got a lot of 2s and 3s and 4s. Wonderful. Okay, perfect. Thank you. My hope is that no matter kind of where you are right now, we will be increasing those numbers. Even for those of us who are 5s, we can become 6s. There's no limit to this. So what we're going to do next is go into that pair breakout room. So what I would love for everyone to do in that breakout room is to have a particular discussion and have that discussion in a particular way. So we're going to be having a declarative pairs discussion. So what you'll do is once you're in the room with your partner, you're going to be filling in this sentence over and over again for 1 minute straight. So for 1 minute, you're going to be repeating meetings are bad when. So you'll say meetings are bad when X, meetings are bad when Y for 1 minute. And then you'll swap with your partner and they will do it for 1 minute as well. So meetings are bad when Z, meetings are bad when A. You'll go all the way around. You only have 3 minutes in there with each other. There is one group of three, so you all have the extra challenge of being super tight with your time. So when you get in there, I'm gonna have the person with the longer hair speak first. Oh, actually, we are gonna do something else. There is the group of two who are together. I'm gonna have you actually just turn to each other and have this conversation. So you will be invited into a breakout room, but then you can just turn to each other. And so that will make it so that there is no group of three, and everybody will get their full minute without worrying too much. Okay, room two. Perfect. So everybody's in a group of two, except for our group of two who are already in a group of two. If anybody has any questions about those instructions, feel free to hang back. Person with the longer hair speaks first. Keep the intros really brief, and then you'll have like a minute towards the end to kind of get to know each other a little bit better. And you can also talk about what that experience was like. There will be a timer in your breakout room, so you can use that to keep track of your 1 minute. And I will see you all back here in 3 minutes. Have fun in your breakout rooms. Welcome back. Wonderful. Hope everyone had a great time in their breakout rooms. If you did get cut off from your partner, feel free to finish what you were saying in the chat. You can DM them or you can send it to everyone and we won't know what you're saying, but then you'll have like a fun little secret together. So what I would love everyone to do, since I didn't get to do my favorite thing, which is fly on the wall and walk around and hear all of the wonderful things you were saying, I would love if everyone could just fill in one thing in the chat, just fill in the blank, meetings are bad when blank. No agenda. Absolutely. Ooh, cell phones. That's a great one. No resolution. Yeah. No plan, no intro. We need an intro and a closing. Humans love ceremony. So even just a tiny moment of ceremony really, really helps. Adults ask off-topic question. I love that you called out that it's adults. That is so true. Okay, wonderful. So what I would love to do next is kind of continue on this thinking about what makes meetings unenjoyable. And what we're going to do together is create a list. We're going to make an opposite thinking list. So a lot of things have already been mentioned, but I am going to be making this list live. So if people wouldn't mind just coming off of mute and just shouting out their answers as I make it. But my question for you is if you wanted to run a terrible meeting, what is one thing you would do? It's one thing you would do to run a terrible meeting.
I would have it go later than planned.
Go late. Yes.
And start late.
Start late. Start late and late. It's a ripple effect.
I would focus on a topic that was not on the agenda.
Ooh, off topic.
Not have an agenda.
No agenda.
I would set a tone of exasperation and despair.
That's fun.
I would create a power dynamic.
Ooh.
I would have side conversations.
I
I would already have the decision made, but make it seem like there is an option for the decision to be changed.
That is so true. I call that gray facilitation, but making people think they're part of it, which no one likes to feel like that's the case. Okay. Anything else we haven't mentioned?
I would make sure people bring their cell phones and their laptops so that they can be doing other work.
Bring distracting devices.
I would be on my phone while other people are talking, even though I'm leading the meeting.
that.
I would give the mic to the same few people over and over again.
Same people speaking. I love that you say you would give the mic. That's a great facilitator language choice there.
I would act like what other people say is not important, or there's no value to what they say. Their opinions don't matter.
Ooh, feelings don't matter. That's such a great phrase.
On the same note, I would interrupt people when they're sharing.
I would bring personal stories that have absolutely zero relevance to the conversation.
I would mansplain my point.
I would make veiled accusations about something one person in the room maybe did without naming what it was.
I would speak in super unclear language, but making assumptions that everyone knows what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I would use phrases like the administration, to can perpetuate the myth that the administration and the teachers are on two separate, entities.
I would try to run a meeting without providing context as to the why.
Ooh.
Mm.
That is a perfect one to end on. So I really enjoy this list. I will say I've made this list with some other folks, and I've never seen it get this specific. I hope that you all haven't been to too many bad meetings because it sounds like you've seen a lot of poor behavior. So what's great about this list is really that we as facilitators do have a lot of control over making sure that these things don't happen in our meetings. So we can start on time, end on time. We can make sure that our agenda is really focused. We know that we don't want to just keep handing that mic to the same people, and we want to be really clear in our language. So I've put that list in the chat, and so that you can have it. This will also be on the resource page. And what I want to talk about now to kind of transition into that next phase of how we can improve our meetings and what we can do as facilitators to make sure that people don't leave our meetings going like, well, I have a list of things that I would like to have changed about that. And the no context for why is really going to lead us straight to this. That was a perfect last suggestion. So what I really like to emphasize about a meeting is that every single meeting should have a purpose. It should have a why. So it should have a goal. Every meeting should have a specific outcome that we're hoping to achieve. And it's our role as the facilitators to kind of help our group achieve that goal so that everyone can leave our meetings feeling satisfied and knowing that it mattered they were there. So another way to think about the goal of the meeting is, why are we having this meeting? Why are we having this meeting with this group of people? Meetings are like snowflakes. Every single one is a little bit different. We're hoping to get a little bit different information, context, contributions out of every single person who's there. So why are we having this meeting? And meetings have a lot of different goals, but it's our role as the facilitator to figure out how we're going to get there. So how are we going to do those things? How are we going to achieve that goal? And what this sounds to me a lot in meetings is just, how are we going to connect today? How are we going to start our meeting, end our meeting? How are we going to make people feel connected? How are we coming up with ideas? Are we doing lists? Are we having sticky notes? How are we informing or clarifying information for people? So how are we getting people information? How are we gathering questions? And how are we going to make decisions? And it's up to us as facilitators to kind of map that course of how we're going to get to the destination. We're in control. We typed it into Google. We set all of the parameters for how we're going to get there. And for me, a lot of the stormy waters that can kind of happen during meetings, the Discord tends to really kick up when things happen that were on that list we just made. And a lot of those things happen, I think, when participants don't understand their purpose and they don't really understand how they're supposed to contribute in the meeting. And so a lot of people leave saying that could have been an email because it was just informational. I could have just read that. I didn't speak, I didn't contribute, I didn't influence any decisions. As someone said, that gray facilitation of the decision has been made, but we're all doing kind of participation theater here. So those are the things that make people, I think, try to grab the wheel from us and steer us in a different direction. That's when the meeting waters get a little bit stormy. So when I think about the hows, what comes to mind for me a lot is just how we are inviting people to communicate, both with us and honestly with themselves. Meetings are a great place to encourage people to be really specifically thoughtful about things, and we get to use that time however we think is best. But when it comes to kind of how we communicate, I like to think of it in this kind of format. So a lot of meetings default to this format, which is they take place out loud with the full group the entire time. So what this sounds like is if you're looking for ideas, you'll say, does anyone have any ideas? And whoever does has to share their idea out loud in front of everyone. This is a default. So it's not that it's bad, it's just often the only option we give people for contribution. And this appeals to, I would say, 25% of people. Some people will be brave, and even if they don't like it, they'll volunteer anyway. But when it comes to who's willing to just raise their hand and share, we know who those people are. They love to speak in meetings. I'm sure we can name 3 of them right now. And so for how and thinking about how we can invite contribution, what I like to think of is changing one of these factors. So I'll give you some examples just from this workshop. So in the very beginning, I asked you to hold up your hand and just tell me how confident you felt as a facilitator during meetings. So that was with the full group, everyone responded, but it wasn't out loud. And then immediately after that, we had a partner conversation. So that was out loud, but it was not with the full group. The other thing I'll make note about this specific way of interacting with everyone is that it takes the most amount of time. So in that partner conversation, I just wanted to get everybody thinking about meetings. That was kind of the goal, was to get everybody participating and thinking about their meetings, what they like in meetings by thinking about the opposite. And there are 14 of us here today. So if I had wanted to hear from everyone for 1 minute, that would have taken half the workshop. And instead, everybody got to speak or write down their thoughts. And that only took a total of 3 minutes. So when we think about these factors, we can also do a little bit of facilitator math. So when we change one of these, that's great. The other option we always have is to change both of them by having people write. So the opposite of out loud is silence, and the opposite of a full group activity is a solo activity. So when in doubt, have people write. That's my main motto. I love to have people write. And what I would love for all of you to do right now is do a little bit of writing. So if everyone could pull out a piece of paper and a pen, open up a blank Word document, however you want to. We are going to do a very quick minute paper. And the question that I have for you is, how might having people write before they respond change participation in a meeting? How might having people write before they respond change participation in a meeting? The timer is on, and I'll talk to you in 1 minute. All right. Very silly timer
Was that
noise.
Disney music?
It's
That sounds like Disney music.
it's the alarm sound is called "And the Winner Is." So that is built into Zoom. I'm not sure, but I believe you. Okay, if everybody can wrap up their minute paper, their final thoughts there. What I would love to know is just one thing that everyone wrote down. If you can open up the chat and just type in one way that you think having people write before they respond might change participation. get time to clarify their ideas and think of new ideas. Absolutely. It invites and encourages. Quieter voices, loud, yes, exactly. The gather initial thoughts without external noise, I think, is such a brilliant way of putting it. I don't subscribe to the dichotomy of introverts and extroverts in meetings. I prefer to think of it as internal processors and external processors. So some people just need a moment with their thoughts before they share. The other thing, it does so many things, but some of my favorite things that writing does is it gives everybody proof of why they were at that meeting. They walk away with a list of their thoughts. It also creates a situation where the external processors, they're still going to get their chance to speak, but it gives everybody a minute to kind of catch up. You're not necessarily going to get first draft thoughts, as I like to say, because even just writing it down for 1 minute, you all just wrote for 1 minute and look at all of the brilliant things you came up with. So getting past those initial kind of default responses is a really wonderful thing that writing does. And it also makes it so that we are our first reference for the response to the question. Facilitators, I often see panic in moments of silence. We ask a question, we don't get immediate responses, and we start going, oh no, my instructions must have been bad. Let me add more examples. And the people who are just trying to think get overwhelmed. And so by having everybody write it down, when they start to share their responses, the first response doesn't have so much weight to it. If you've ever been in a brainstorm and the first person who says whatever they're going to say, and then everybody starts going piggybacking off of Jerome's idea, or I had a really different idea than Jerome. And so it just becomes this kind of nexus center, and we don't have control over what that first response is going to be. So by making it so that everybody's reference is themselves. It also, my favorite thing that it does is it allows people to go, I wrote that down too. Because a lot of times when people have the same idea, they don't know how to be like, I was also thinking that. And everybody can kind of calm down because they're not worried they're going to forget what they were thinking. It's written down in front of them. And one more thing is that it increases psychological safety. So you have all had some very brilliant responses in the chat, and I will try my best to share them back to you on that resource page as well. And those are all of my reasons. So there's so many reasons to have people write before they respond. We are about 4 minutes away from the end of this workshop, and I do want to make sure that the next few sessions we have together are tailored towards what you all hope to kind of learn most about. So what I would love to invite everyone to do is open up the link that I just put in the chat and submit at least one question that you would like me to either answer during the session or create some kind of thought process around for everyone. And when you're done submitting your question, be sure to submit one question at a time. When you're done submitting, if you can go through and upvote any of the ones that you'd be most interested in hearing me respond to in any of these next sessions, that would be great. Okay, wonderful. If you don't have a question yet, that's totally fine. That link will be active so you can submit anytime during this week if you think of another one. We are coming to a close, and I love a little closing ceremony. So what I would love everyone to tell me once again in the chat is just as we close out this session today, what is one thing you're thinking and one thing you're feeling? And it doesn't have to be a full sentence. You can just send 2 words, however you want to phrase it. It can be a thought and a feeling. Sometimes we don't need to be so one or the other. Sometimes it's both. Great. we're all thinking and feeling different things. Isn't it incredible? We had a collective experience and we're all having individual takeaways. And that is one of my favorite things about meetings and also facilitation. I hope I didn't speak too quickly for anyone today. I know that I go quite fast. I'm like a cup of coffee in human form. So thank you all so, so much for being here today. Our next workshop together is Thursday, January 15th, same time, same place, same Zoom link. To say goodbye, I would love to close out the same way we kind of came in. So if everybody wants to unmute themselves one final time, I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. And then we will all wave and say goodbye to each other and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. And I can't wait to see you all back here next week. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye,
Great,
everyone.
your
Bye-bye.
Thank you
schools.
so much for coming today. Have a wonderful Thursday.